ready?
We're ready.
Yes, okay. All right, so let me call this meeting to order. And since we do not have a quorum yet, we're waiting on Judge Nes Garcia. We will take the agenda out of order. We will start with item number 5, a presentation from Elizabeth Hutchins. Oh, I'm sorry, and Ms. Stefano, I forgot, you do this. Number 5, okay, go ahead, ma'am.
So we'll do number 4. Discuss and take appropriate action.
No,
no, I'm sorry.
Number 5.
Item number 5, receive a presentation from Elizabeth Hutchins regarding the Juvenile Probation Department statistics for the second quarter.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Liz Hutchins. I am the data analyst here at JPD, and I have a brief presentation, just an update for our quarter numbers for the department. Okay, so this quarter we did soft launch of our legislative dashboard. Next slide. Just as a quick recap, our admin dashboard, the purpose of the admin dashboard is to provide a global snapshot of our operations, so including what kind of kids are we having come through the door, supervisions, recidivism, referrals, where these referrals are coming from. We launched it in May, and I quickly noticed that we're having just some trouble with some of the filters and the data refreshing, so we're working on that. I reached out to Joel Bishop's team, see if they could help me figure out what the glitch is. So I'm hoping by next Juvenile board meeting, we'll have everything ready to go. Next slide. Next slide. So when we were comparing quarters 1 and 2 from last fiscal year to the current fiscal year, total referrals increased 196%, and unique referrals increased 207%. Now this is kind of leveling off from what I presented to you all last time. So last quarter, total referrals had increased 220%, and unique referrals had increased 252%. Again, this has to do with the fact that kids were still at home. And we have a big school to JPD pipeline of kids coming in, so we should see those numbers level out even more as time goes on. Next slide. In terms of comparing our quarter 2 to quarter 1, we had a 17% decrease in total referrals. Unique referrals, in other words, unique youth, increased slightly. Next slide. The percentage of youth in deferred prosecution increased roughly 30% compared to quarters 1 and 2 of last fiscal year, while the percentage of youth in level 3 has decreased by 25%, and our level 4s remain stable. Next slide. Recently, we had a Public Information Act request from a visitor with KVIA news station, given the tragic events in Juvenile. They asked us 3 questions. So first, has there been an uptick of guns being brought to school by students since the start of 2021? Second, they wanted to know the numbers for the last year on how many cases our department investigated. And lastly, how many cases of students bringing guns to school in El Paso County did we see before the pandemic? Next slide. So on average, the number of gun-related offenses happening in our schools was 0.0018% prior to the pandemic. Total, I want to say we had 7, and that was out of almost 4,000 arrests. So it's very, very minimal, thank goodness. Gun-related offenses occurring in school since the start of 2021, we were at 5. So there's no dramatic increase. I know with current events, it kind of seems like everything's, exploding, but thankfully we haven't seen that. The numbers don't show that happening here in our county. Anybody have any questions or comments?
No. All right, thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Okay, and I guess we can skip to,
We'll move on
Number
to
12?
item number 12, report from the county attorney's general counsel liaison.
Good afternoon. My name is Donnie McGilbra, and I am pleased to serve as general counsel for the El Paso County JPD. I am doing my quarterly report. To give it some, in substance, there were 9 items that were presented to the El Paso County Commissioners Court over the last quarter. The total dollar amount of these 9 items that are inclusive of the contract items is up to $1,586,307.30. Let me give you a line item presentation of each one of the items that was presented. On April 4th of 2022, item number 4 on the consent agenda, contract number 2022-0219. It was there to approve and authorize the county judge to sign the month-to-month extension agreement with Alleviani, doing business as Alleviani Youth Group, for provisions of individual and family group drug court counseling services of April 1st, 2022 through September 30th of 2022. That was approved. On that same Commissioners Court agenda, there was item number 11, contract number 2022-0212, approve and authorize the county judge to sign the Region 17 Education Services Center of West Texas Food Services Cooperative Interlocal Agreement. And that also ranged into contract number 2022-20, pardon me, from years 2022 through 2023. This allocation was in the amount of $260,000 even. And this was for the Food Services Department here at El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department. Thank you, Manny. For April 18th, Commissioners Court agenda, we had 2 items that were presented at that time. Item number 4 on the consent agenda, it was letter number N. The contract number was 2022-0066. This was to approve and authorize the county judge to sign the addendum number 2 to the master subscription agreement with Zoho. This was presented by Mr. Leo Landeros. Leo, you did an excellent job. This was for a total amount of $2,295, and it was for software for 200 mobile devices that were going to be put into effect between May 13th, 2022 and May 12th, 2023, 1-year contract time period. Then there was item number 13 on that same Commissioners Court agenda. The number of the contract was 2021-0976. We had to go back and pull this forward. It was to approve and authorize the county judge to sign the interlocal agreement between the El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department and the Emergence Health Network. This was a very trying contract to get done. I appreciate all your help, Linda and Sal and everyone else that was involved in this. Ultimately, this involved systemic therapy treatment services for children and adolescents that were being referred there. Ultimately, the contract could range up to the extended amount of $1 million, but in all intents and purposes, it should not go to that high of a number. The contract is for an extended time period of April 18th, 2022 through August 31st, 2023. And this is in compliance with the Texas Juvenile Justice Department regulations that require multi-systemic therapy, and it was supplied by a grant that came in 2022. For the next agenda that we presented items on, it was April 25th, 2022. The first item that was presented was item 4, consent agenda letter R. The contract number is 2022-0217. It was to approve and authorize the county judge to sign the master subscription agreement for Zoom video communications. Again, this was sponsored by Leo Landeros. Leo, you did an excellent work on this. We had to go back and forth several times with the vendor in order to get the contract just right. There was tax consequences that were in there that were not acceptable to JPD, and we finally got them to recognize where they were falling short of our anticipated expectations, and they finally corrected that. So thank you very much, Leo, for your extended work. There was funding on this contract in the amount of $1,949.03. The contract lasts for the extended period of April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2022. Pardon me, 2023. Item number 4 on that same Commissioners Court agenda, it was consent agenda letter S, contract number 2022-0238. Approve and authorize the county judge to sign the second amendment to the contract, which was originally 2021-0541. This also regarded the multi-systemic therapy services provided by EHN. And as I spoke to you earlier, this was an extended negotiation that was spearheaded by our department, and it was at the forefront of making sure that this happened. We had to go back and forth on it on a couple of occasions. And I mean, a lot of various people got involved in this, and I thank them for their work and their tenacity. This contract was an extension in time from October 1st of 2021 through September 30th of 2022. It was renewal, and then there were 2 option years that were added on to this. The total amount of the contractual agreement was $238,425. Thank you guys for your help. The next Commissioners Court agenda where we had items that were presented was May 9th. Item number 4, consent agenda letter J. The contract number is 2022-0255. It was to approve and authorize the county judge to accept the State of Texas Department of Agriculture Food and Nutrition Division National Food Lunch Program, once again spearheaded by Manny. Manny, I appreciate your work. This was the second of these contracts and grants that you were involved in recently, and excellent job. You worked through it, grinded it out, and we finally got that grant approved. It was in a grant amount of $58,000. The grant is from December 31st, 2021 through July 31st of 2023. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. The next Commissioners Court where items were presented was June 6th, just a few days ago. The first item that was presented was item number 4, consent agenda number 1. 2022-0318 is the contract number. It was to approve and authorize the county judge to sign the software maintenance agreement with Noble Software Group for the PAT, which is Positive Achievement Change Tool. This was spearheaded by none other than our new chief. She grinded on me. She grinded on me to make sure that we got this done. We had to go back and forth. Originally, the contract, there were 2 contracts that we incorporated, tried to consolidate into one. Ultimately, we had to break them apart, put them into 2, and in breaking them apart and doing so, we were finally able to accomplish what we needed to do. Thank you, Chief, for your tenacity and for your encouragement in getting this done. We finally got it presented on Monday. Kamar was there to sponsor the presentation. There were no questions asked, but thank you, Kamar, for being present just in case there was something that was needed. And finally, there was item number 4, consent agenda, item J, and this is the companion to the previous contract 0318. This contract was 0388, and as I spoke earlier, we had to split the contracts up into 2 individual contracts. One that dealt with one aspect of the software agreement and one that dealt with the maintenance and upkeep of the software agreement. Again, Kamar was there for the presentation. This was inclusive of the $25,638, and the contract running time is from June 6th of 2022 through June 5th of 2025, which is the initial contracting period of 3 years, and then we have 1 year automatic renewals on the backside of that. That is my presentation for the items that were presented before the Commissioners Court during this quarter. If you guys have any questions of me, Feel free to ask them now.
Any questions, anyone? No? All right, thank you, Mr. McGilvray.
Thank you.
Item number 13, report from the Chief Probation Officer.
Good afternoon, Judge, board members.
No, that's not on.
So really quickly, I know that you all received in your packets the Chief's highlights report, and I'm not going to go through, it's exhaustive. We've had a very, very productive quarter throughout the entire department, and I'd like to praise all of our directors and our managers for their hard work and diligence on the various projects that we have been working on throughout the department. As well as I want to acknowledge our staff in detention and challenge. They have been working extraordinarily hard in the back. We recently did have a COVID outbreak in challenge where we did have 12 positive youth. And our challenge staff and management teams quickly went into action and put all of our COVID protocols into place to help mitigate and stop the spread within the units in the back. So I want to recognize all of our staff. Administrative updates, these are just a couple of the highlights that have already been provided. There was a personnel change. We did add one position, which is the Deputy Chief of Juvenile Facilities, and I'll be working with Natalia on the recruitment strategy over the next couple of weeks. Our goal is hopefully to be able to advertise that hopefully by July. We did have a team of 9 who attended the Transforming Juvenile Probation training in Washington, D.C. And that is, we will be working as an organization towards improving our system with our target focus will be on improving our court orders, which will have a ripple effect in ideally minimizing the number of kids that we violate on probation and also minimize the utilization of detention for probation violations and truly focus on those kids who are committing delinquent acts in our community that should be housed in our facility if need be. The next update is phase 1 of the job reclass was completed and all of our staff that were eligible for reclass and pay increases, those took into effect the first pay period of April. And the second phase of the reclass will begin probably in July. And that's going to be reworking everybody's job descriptions to meet the recommendations that were provided by the contracted vendor. Highlight from our accounting unit, we have submitted the department's fiscal year 23 capital improvements request. For intake unit, they have implemented bi-monthly staffings with the county attorneys to identify and refer appropriate youth to the deferred prosecution felony THC diversion program. And over 80 youth have been referred since March. And if you all do not know, we have an epidemic of kids in possession of THC vape pens in the schools. It's a felony offense, and law enforcement does not have the capacity to test. So it's created a pretty big backlog in our system. So we're working really closely with our prosecutors to move those cases along. Detention unit, Director Castillo was accepted to participate in the PREA 101 learning course through the National PREA Resource Center. Which is one of the goals that I've outlined during my tenure. I'd like for us to not only be PREA audited, but be PREA certified. So having a subject matter expert on staff is really going to help us or propel us towards reaching that goal. The probation services unit, the CIP team did an outstanding job in the month of April on our Global Youth Service Day event. The theme of that project was healing, breaking the cycle of violence, and we partnered with a lot of different organizations throughout the community as well as nationally. The kids in the detention and challenge provided or participated in creating artwork to express what violence is in our community and ways to improve our communities to fight violence. And their art was on display at the International Art Museum throughout the month of May. Our clinical unit, Francisco Torres, who is our sex offender therapist, has developed a bi-monthly training curriculum on the containment model and sex offender treatment services, and is working very closely with our probation officers to skill them up so that we can have better collaboration between probation and our treatment providers. The Challenge Academy successfully completed their TJJD audit with an excellent score, and the same goes for our detention staff or our detention team. The maintenance unit, Commissioner Leon, I'm sure you're going to be happy to hear that the roof project was partially completed. So part of the roof has been completed. We're getting ready to working on the contract to start the other portion of the building. But we're making progress. Our training unit, they too were audited by TJJD for our compliance and training, and they received 100% as well. Our culinary unit was audited or inspected by the City Health Department and received a score of 95%. And they too were in compliance with the TJJD audit. Special programs unit, the SHOCAP team provided an overview to TJJD Parole South Division and have been conducting in-person and virtual SHOCAP task force meetings and entered into a collaborative partnership with the TAD to begin mentorship for SHOCAP youth. And along those lines, TJJD has also done some reorganization, and they've moved parole under the Probation Services Division. And what that's going to do is the expectation of greater collaboration between probation and parole is being set, in particular with us providing feedback to the review panel boards that decide when they're going to parole kids out, being able to provide some insight and some input as to whether those kids should be released or not released, or if we have any areas of concern that we want the panel to take into consideration. So that's I think a step in a positive direction, because ultimately they were our kids first, and they're returning right back to our community. And we definitely know those children and those families a lot better than the parole officers that are going to be receiving them. So I'm looking forward to that strong partnership. For information systems and records, the digitization of a project continues. They've scanned over 2,246 juvenile records, and we've been able to purge those and clear out some of the storage area that holds our records. Our court interpreter translated 9 documents over the last quarter. A module was created and implemented to request appointments for children that are detained in our detention and challenge units. And this module is available to not just our probation officers, but also to the county attorneys, private attorneys, and public defenders. And that just helps with operations and being able to plan and coordinate with our staff the availability and have the kids ready and available for their virtual meetings with our legal partners. And we also updated 40 computers throughout the department, our IT department. So that's the end of my report. Any questions? Yes.
Chief, I heard you say that in looking for a deputy chief, if I understood it correctly, advertising won't be until July, hopefully. Is that what you said?
Right. We need to develop a recruitment strategy. So we might mirror, and we haven't been able to meet with HR yet. HR obviously plays a key role in the advertisement process, but probably similar to what we did for the chief, is not just advertising locally, but nationally.
Oh, I see. Okay. Then the reason I said that is I know I've got an opening in my office. And I say that a lot of and they were real quick.
Yes, no, absolutely. We have an amazing HR team within our department. However, they've been extraordinarily shorthanded. Natalia is a one-woman show currently. She went from having 4 people to 1. So it's kind of delaying things a little bit, but we've been patient this long, so we'll continue to be patient. But hopefully our goal is by July to begin the recruitment process for this position.
Thank you.
So, and then before I conclude, I do want to thank Mr. Marquez. He's done a phenomenal job leading the TJP initiative. It's a lot of work, a lot of collaboration, and I truly appreciate his help and his assistance in leading that project. So thank you, Mr. Marquez.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Josie is irreplaceable, Commissioner. Yeah, she is. She is. Okay. All right. Yes.
Judge, at this time, we have quorum now, so we'll take up the agenda items in regular order.
Okay. Before that, I would like to introduce everyone to Judge Lioness Garcia. This is her first in-person.
Hence the confusion. I thought this was a Teams meeting, and then I didn't have a vehicle today, so.
Yeah. So we're glad you made it, Judge. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so now we have a quorum, so go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the juvenile board meeting minutes dated March 23rd, 2022.
All right, any questions on the minutes? No, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right.
Item number 3,
Oh,
discuss.
no, hold on. I need.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, we both messed up. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Item number 3, discuss and take appropriate action to add attorney Ray Gutierrez to the juvenile wheel.
All right, does anybody want to discuss anything about Mr. Gutierrez? He has been on the wheel before. He was on the wheel when I was a prosecutor. He did a great job. He is not on the adult wheel, but he is proficient in handling misdemeanors and felonies and primarily those of juveniles. So do I have a motion to approve?
Some.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And by the way, we have Judge Trejo up there. So Judge, hopefully you're voting. I'm sure she has her camera off. I think that may be the AT. Is she up there?
And
Oh, and that's Annabelle? Okay, well, maybe she's not here at all. Okay, all right, okay. All right, so Ray Gutierrez will be on the wheel. Okay, go ahead, Ms.
Item number 4, discuss and take appropriate action to approve budget amendment number 26 to the Juvenile Probation Department 2021-2022 operating budget.
Okay, Ms. Angelique?
Good afternoon, Judge, juvenile board members. I'm Angelique Axiola, Senior Accountant. I'll be presenting budget amendment number 26, which was approved by Commissioners Court on May 16, 2022. Okay. The first transfer is from our general fund admin account. We transferred $31,000 to supplement other employee salary accounts, $50,000 for the general repairs of the facility and service contracts, $100,000 to repair the security system in the detention facility and the Challenge Academy, and to repair the radio communication systems for the department. The second transfer is from our community-based account. We transferred $1,000 to supplement employee fringe benefits. Next slide, please. The third transfer is from juvenile detention account. We transferred $20,000 for the general repairs of the detention facility and $80,000 for the medical services provided by Texas Tech Pediatrics. The fourth transfer is from the juvenile challenge account. We transferred $70,000 to cover juvenile medical services provided by Texas Tech Pediatrics. Next slide, please. Our final transfer is in our National School Lunch Program account. We reallocated funds to post FY22 salary and fringe expenditures related to the National School Lunch Program. This concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions? Yeah, okay. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, item number
Six.
okay.
Discuss and take appropriate action to approve and include the Public Information Act request processing policy in the Juvenile Probation Department Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook.
Good afternoon, Judge, board members. In your packets was our Information Act policy. This was a policy that did not previously exist as part of JPD's policies and procedures. And it was brought to our attention by our legal counterparts, Patsy as well as Donnie, that we needed to have a separation, a formal separation of recipients of public information acts that were coming to the Juvenile Probation Department. So we've generated this policy to set up the structure when we receive these so that we ensure the timely process of Public Information Act request, and to separate also those that are HR driven versus department driven, because historically we have always received JPD Public Information Acts with mostly data requests, but as of late we were receiving HR related requests, and we needed to redirect the individuals requesting this information to HR versus coming to JPD. So we had to create that delineation. And we've also created a special email account for the media or the public to request information, and we are including that in our website that's also being updated.
Any questions? No? All right, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. All right, item number 7.
Item number 7, discuss and take appropriate action to approve and authorize the board chair to sign the First Amendment for Culberson-Hudspeth County Post-Adjudication Interlocal Agreement. Contract number 2022-0417.
Good afternoon, Judge, Juvenile Board members. My name is Anthony Morrow. I'm the Challenge Unit Manager. I'm presenting on behalf of Director of Corrections, Michael Tillman. Challenge is respectfully requesting approval and authorization of the First Amendment for the Culberson-Hudspeth County Post-Adjudication Interlocal Agreement. The changes made were updates to include COVID-related guidelines. The changes have been vetted and approved by our departmental legal team. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Any questions? No? All right, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Morrow. All right, number 8.
Item number 8, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the Juvenile Detention Center COVID-19 Pandemic Standard Operating Procedures.
Good afternoon, Judge Gutierrez, Chief Medina, board members. My name is Luis Castillo. I'm the director in the Juvenile Detention Center. With me is one of our detention unit supervisors, Mr. Andres Garcia. This item, we have made some adjustments for our COVID procedures. Real quickly, specifically, we're reducing our quarantine for new kids coming in, relaxing some of the face covering mandates for staff when they're amongst each other. We're keeping masks on when we're around kids. We've reduced our capacity limits in our units. We have some changes to the staff testing protocols that we had prior. And we've included some staff testers, volunteer staff who are willing to test some of our parents who are coming in for in-person visitation. And we have included a change in the plan for increasing the amount of in-person visitation we have for kids and families in the detention center, respectfully requesting your approval of these adjustments.
Any questions, judges, commissioner? No? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Castillo. And you're on the next one too. Okay.
Item number 9, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the Juvenile Detention Center detention staff scheduling policy and procedure.
Thank you, board members, Judge Luis Castillo, Director of Detention. This item has been over a year in the works, and the reason I have Mr. Garcia here with us is he's really been the architect of what we're trying to get approved today for the staff scheduling of our 24-hour staff in the detention center. This has been something that's been worked through with the executive team. And real quickly, what it's going to do is augment the existing policies and procedures, but really addressing and providing written guidelines that will govern the management of our work cycles for our 24-hour staff. The purpose of it is to clearly communicate our scheduling process so that our staff can know what to expect clearly and objectively. It is a tenure-based bid cycle, which outlines those procedures for things such as overtime, holiday scheduling, different post assignments, and staff initiated schedule switches. It's really important for us, and we're happy that we've gotten here. It's taken us some time, and we respectfully request your approval of this new policy.
Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Castillo. Okay.
Item number 10, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the promotions policy.
Good afternoon, Judge and Juvenile Board members, Natalia Tejada with Human Resources. So the purpose of this agenda item is to request your approval for several updates on the promotions policy. The first one really surrounds the incorporation of the temporary assignments and promotion sections. This is something that the department currently follows, but we just want to make sure that it's documented in the policy. The second update surrounds the 3.78% minimum increase when employees promote, and this really aligns to county's pay practices. And lastly, there were general edits made to the existing language to ensure that it's clean, concise, and it really is, towards the audience and our employees are able to understand, and it's clear. So this policy has been reviewed by our county attorney's office, and we're seeking your favorable consideration.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve? Right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 11.
And my last item is updates to the,
Item number 11, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the updates to the personnel policies and procedures manual.
So this update, we are, as a result of the policy that the board approved the last time around, the employee definitions policy, we realized that it really streamlined the handbook, but it also, we realized there were sections in the handbook that were duplicate or that were already mentioned in several areas. So this is really to clean up the language to ensure it's clear and concise and that there's not a duplication of different sections. And one of the things that we'll be working with the department is the long-term goal is to really look at the handbook and all the policies and really ensure that they're updated, that they're aligned to best practices, that they're relevant. So hopefully you'll be seeing some of these edits and updates throughout the different board meetings that are coming up. So wanted to just make sure that that was on the agenda, and as well, our Donnie McDougall has reviewed the updates to the handbook.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All adjourned? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Chaparro.
Thank you.
And so we are done. So do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. We made it by the skin of our teeth.